we go. Hey guys, we'll wait for everybody to be notified. It's nice to see everybody this afternoon. I decided to come a little earlier than I had anticipated. Hi guys. We got some info. I gotta tell you, we'll get over to Sebastian Rogers. I know you guys are probably gonna want to know what's going on with them. We got some things to touch on over there, but this is funny. I mean, it's funny, but not funny. In all fairness, it's funny, not funny. But the funny part of it is Alec Murdaugh got into his first jailhouse fight. The bad thing is the guy he got into a fight with deserved it. Okay? And it sounds like they both got beat up a little bit. So, hi guys. It's nice to see you. I hope everybody's doing well. I was just searching around, just seeing, what is out there, because we've been so entrenched in Sebastian Rogers that I really wanted, there's so many cases that I've covered, and this is one that I was there for the freaking murder trial, and I was there for the auction. I was there for the financial crimes. We were front scene and center on this case. I've been out there. Guys, you guys probably don't even know it, but I was behind the gates. I was lucky enough that somebody knew the sheriff, and this was early on in the case. This is after everybody had moved out, the case, whatever. And they didn't have the trespassing signs or anything like that. And I happened to be out there, and I was recording myself in the rain, and this car drove up behind me. So I get out, and it's a guy, this older guy. And he's like, my wife would kill me if she knew I was here. This guy, he was super, super tall, kind of crouched over. He looked like a big teddy. You could tell he was a grandpa, you know what I'm saying? But he's like, my wife would kill me. And I'm like, well, I just came out here to do some filming and stuff like that. He's like, I'm going back there. And I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And I'm like, will we get arrested? And he's like, are you kidding me? I know the sheriff. I've known him for 30 years. And I'm like, he's like, I'm more concerned with my wife. I'm like, okay, well, I'm following you. Right? I mean, what do you do? I'm going. And you know what? If we need bail money, I'm sure we'll figure it out, right? I'm sure it'll be plastered all over social media if but I'm going back there, right? I had an opportunity. I jumped on it. And so I went back there, and I really didn't know where they were, so it was kind of off a little bit. I knew where Paul was, but I didn't know where Maggie had been. But I got to tell you, I was a little scared, and of course he's worried about his wife, so I had to make sure I filmed his shoes, But I did. I went back there. I went behind the gates. I got a video on YouTube, Behind the Gates. I think it's even called Behind the Gates. And I did that. So if you guys ever want to check it out, what it looked like when I went back there, you can go there. I got to say that, I didn't get a call, I don't think, Jim and Dick are too pleased with me, but, in the spirit of journalism, in the spirit of journalism. So that was all I wanted to say, is that, Alec Murdaugh got his first taste of behind the bars. They went down. They went down. I'm waiting for. I'd like to see if they release the photos. It sounds like there are some people already on this to get a statement from the prison, as well as I'm sure they're going to probably want to see what these parties' face looks like after they were done. I heard it was pretty bad too. I heard that they both roughed each other up pretty good. And so here's the not so fun part of this. So the guy, like I said, in my opinion, deserved it. So they should never have been in the same pod, because apparently the guy that Alec had gotten into a fight with had assaulted his niece and essayed his niece, and in I think it was like a robbery or burglary or something like that. It was not good. And so this guy approaches Alec again. Not a good move, right? To tell him how his family framed him, right? And this guy's doing life in prison for the crime, right? he should never have been in the prison pod with Alec because there was conflict. So anyways, long story short, he goes and approaches Alec. Next thing you know, Alec probably took one look at him, realized who he was in front of, and it was all over, right? Well, not quite all over, but I read the article. Understaffing has a major role in this case, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So there you go. Alec got it. I don't know if he got his ass kicked. I'm trying to find out. I really am. So we've been talking about the Sebastian Rogers case. The Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I gotta say, I was one of the reasons why I decided to come here is I got to listen to Pascal, Pascal's show on YouTube, and Jennifer Coffindaffer was on. And I like hearing Jennifer, people expect them to have the crystal ball, okay? Nobody has the crystal ball. All they can do is talk about their experiences, and really that's about it. What they think may happen, it doesn't mean because they were trained this way or they would have done it this way that the person that's running this investigation is doing it the way that they would do it. But she does have a lot of great experience, and I love that about her. So she's talking about some things like, why isn't law enforcement coming to the podium? Why aren't they saying anything? These things were discussed, and I thought it was really important because, Jessica, are you raising your hand? I don't know what you're doing, Jessica. You're confusing me. Are you raising your hand? And this is not school, okay? We don't raise our hand to speak. You just speak. If I see it, I see it. I'm just joking. So anyways, she's talking about how, the lack of communication because, Pascal has it sounds like a unique relationship with Seth and his spokesperson, Tony Mathis, because I saw him out at the vigil. It seemed like he had some personal time. According to one of his other lives that he posted, he had an opportunity to give Seth a big hug. And so it sounds like they had an opportunity to speak. And so I know that Seth probably had to provide him his concerns that he provided to the media that put that stuff out where he's calling on the FBI to take over the investigation. And so Jennifer Coffindaffer, being an ex-FBI employee, obviously she would have some a good understanding on what it would take to get the FBI involved. And one of the things, and like I cautioned many people here when we were talking about the whole FBI taking over this case, I said that I didn't think that they would have jurisdiction short of this child going or them proving that this child went over state lines. I don't think they'd have a jurisdiction to ever take this case over. The top jurisdiction right now would be TBI. And so I think she didn't answer it quite like that, but she did answer it basically identifying that the state line would probably be more in line with the catalyst of why they or how they could take this case over. One of the other points that I think was notable, hey Mama J, it's nice to see you. One of the other things I think is really notable in what was discussed on the Pascal show with Jennifer Coffindaffer was the circus that's going on here on social media, because Chris is on social media, Seth is on social media. We need to have kind of hone things in and start giving some good constructive information, which I think will help open up those chains of communication with law enforcement, because it sounds like with Chris going on, Cluminati and Seth and Tony going on, from my understanding, this is the way I'm understanding Jennifer Coffindaffer, it sounds like it's making law enforcement nervous to trust them with certain information, because if they do trust them with certain information, it can't be put on social media. And, with both parties being on social media, it's making it very difficult. Plus, the chaos that's ensuing around this case is making it very difficult to get those answers from law enforcement. She also stated it may just be because the one press conference that they did have, they didn't really talk. And everybody's like, why did you bring us together for a press conference if you weren't going to tell us anything, right? And I really think the best way, if they were going to do a press conference, in my opinion, would be just to reiterate all of the facts of the case, as we know them, what type of leads they did, how many coordinated searches they've had, what land they've covered, stuff that makes people feel nice, warm, and fuzzy inside, like law enforcement gives a damn and they are doing their job. There's nothing more than the unknown. And if they could just, and I think that that's even the call, like even Jennifer Coffindaffer identified that this is a bad strategy just to shut down and shut the public out. There's a better strategy, in my opinion, that can go on right now with law enforcement, and it's just a public relations. And I think they're terrified of public relations because I think they feel like it's going to open an additional can of worms. And I don't know. I really think it would settle down a lot of the stuff that's going on here, because what you have is people kind of caught in the middle. They want to believe law enforcement is doing a good job, but in all fairness, our experience in these type of cases, especially in this particular state, are not that positive for the cases that we're personally covering. So it gives us, just a little bit of concern, and then you couple that concern in that unknown with fear and the fact law enforcement is ghosting everybody, and not even just, I feel like if they are not going to do a press conference, just throwing a press release out every now and then would be at least beneficial. Just adding to some tips, or like the reminding people that the glasses, that the people that they, because there's a lot of people that are just now hearing those initial body cam footage, and they're talking about, well, what about this person over here? And they don't realize that those people have already been cleared. They've already been found. They were already found not to be, Sebastian Rogers. So you would think that if they just came out and just clarified and reminded everybody of information, it would be so much more beneficial. And I think people wouldn't forget so much, and I think that's where a lot of this misinformation is being, because people forget stuff up front that was factual information, and now they're kind of rehatching old information that has already been resolved, and it's kind of rearing its ugly head again. So I personally don't know, but I know that Chris's latest statements, are a little concerning, and I feel it just gave me a creepy feeling hearing them, basically, what you got up here, luckily he left no evidence. He was happy that they haven't been able to find, like, he didn't seem like jovial, like he's like, hey, but he sounded almost proud of himself. Even though he wasn't talking about himself, so to speak, he just seemed really confident and proud and just kind of macho and matter of fact. It was just, I don't know. I just didn't really like it. I feel we always doubt Ellie, and yeah, I know. Me too. And, and Jennifer Coffindaffer reminds us, and I always have to say this, and I sometimes, I forget to remind, when I talk about law enforcement, it's never the worker bees I'm talking about. When I refer to law enforcement, and this is across, unless I specifically refer to a law enforcement person or body or department or, area, then I'm talking about top brass. I'm talking about the people that give the orders, because you have to understand that in law enforcement, just like in the military, there's a chain of command, and that chain of command is followed. So if somebody, somebody above you gives you an order, you don't really get to question the order. You just have to go out and do it. So I never, whenever I have my criticism of law enforcement, it's top brass. It's the people running these it's never the worker bees. It's never the men and women on the front lines, working their rear ends off and, doing their darndest to get the case closed. I'm never referring to them when I criticize law enforcement, because I also know about the chain of command. And so I like to hold the people responsible. And it's not the worker bees. It's top brass. So I just like clarifying that, because I am a back the blue person. I think we need to fund our law enforcement more, because I think if they had more resources, these cases would have more resources up front. And those minutes up front are the most crucial in these cases. So I do believe that they're working. I just feel like they lost a lot of crucial time up front. Me personally, just me personally. Do I know that to be true? No. That's just, that's an assumption. And I can tell you, when I assume things, they can be wrong, they can be right. It's just an assumption. It doesn't hold a whole lot of weight. I missed that. CP said, look. Yeah, let me see it. That's right. I'm here with a different crowd right now. There's some people have already heard this. Some people probably haven't, but I'll let you guys hear it for yourself. Make it out what you will. But I'm telling you, this just it sounded eerie. Like he didn't have a tone. He wasn't acting snarky. It's just it's one of those things where it's just the way he said it. You know what I'm saying? It's the way. It's nothing more than the way he said it. Let me see if I can find it. I probably won't be able to find it. Where was it? I remember where it was. That's the one. No, maybe not. All right, maybe I don't know what it is. I was going to try to... I had it earlier, but let me see if it's just bed stories. Maybe that's what it is, just bed stories. Maybe that's the right one. No, it's not. But it was his audio. They clipped the audio of him being in a YouTube podcast, live show, whatever. And he was basically saying that this is a boring case, this case, if you strip away all the BS and the noise, you just got a simple case of a boy running away from home. And luckily, or God, I wish I used the right word. I don't know verbatim, but he basically said, luckily, he left no evidence behind. It was just weird. I wish I could find it. If one of my mods are in here, and if you guys remember the bedtime stories or whatever, if you could throw it into our mod chat, that would be great, because I would like to throw that out there, because it really was eerie. And I know Karen sent it to me, but she sent it to me by text, and I can't get it from this phone. So anyways, we'll wait for that to come in, and if I get that before we close out, I'll definitely play it for you guys. I missed it. Yeah, it was just the way he said it. It's not like he said it rough, or it's just it's how he said it. The words that were used to describe it is what really irritates me. It bothers me to no end. So. And then I wanted to read this while we also wait. Hold on here. Let's see if I can get this up here. Because I think this kind of, it really goes to Chris and Katie. People will lie directly to your face and then mad at you because you don't trust them. Right? And it's like I ran across, you just run across stuff because I'm on YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook looking. And as I'm rolling through some Sebastian Rogers stuff, this is popping up, and I'm like, You know, how true. I mean, we're here, and Chris and Katie have been caught in so many discrepancies. I mean, even Chris out the gate saying that he was cleared and passed his polygraph. That was like at day 8 or 9 or 10. And then we find out that was a lie. It was a bold-faced lie that he had said on Facebook groups and in Facebook chats and on, you know, people's lives that he had passed. And now he's coming to us like, oh, why don't you, we had nothing to do with it. Why doesn't the whole world believe it? It's because you've been caught in so many mistruths. It's almost difficult, you know, to express. Hold on. Bedtime stories, Sebastian Rogers.
Bedtime stories, Sebastian Rogers.
Here it is. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Bed crime stories. That's where I messed up. I should have known it would have been a clever name like Crime Stories. Can't believe it. Okay, guys, I think we do have it here. Where's the little clip of it? Oh, well, we'll listen to the first. Let's see if I can get this up.
Want to get answers? I don't think the use of the word best there is a mistake. I think it's very...
Okay, let's listen to it.
Criticism. So let's begin with this zinger.
It's so simple that it's probably a very boring case if you took away all the crap. It's just a simple, we have a 15-year-old autistic child that is missing. And unfortunately, the best part about it is he has managed to do this without any evidence left behind whatsoever. That is the most unique aspect of this case.
Did you hear Chris say that the best thing about Sebastian's disappearance is that he left no evidence behind?
The best thing about Sebastian is he left no evidence behind. That's what he said. That, you know, but you see, he wasn't being mean, he wasn't being snark. It was just the way he said it. It just creeps you out. It creeps me out. This is the second time I played it. Well, I played it a few times behind the scenes for me personally, but I got to be honest with you. Choice of words. They're saying it's Freudian. Actually, I'll keep playing it for you. Let me go back because I see some more people in the chat. So let me rewind it back, and I want you to hear Bed Crime Stories. She makes a statement after it. Yeah, guys, let me just go back just a little bit.
On the panel of another YouTube
we'll listen
show
to it
this
again.
past weekend. He said some pretty cray-cray things. The show I'm talking about has proven to be a safe place for Chris and Katie Proudfoot. It is a place where...
I think they're referring to that Cluminati channel. And in all fairness, you know, I've said this before. I know people are like, I can't believe anybody... Everybody needs an outlet. You know, I believe in the justice system. We need to have defense attorneys as well as good... state attorneys. So I believe in the process. I believe that they should have an outlet to get their message out as well. It kind of sucks that it's this Cluminati because it doesn't sound like she has like the best reputation in the world, but I don't know her personally. She hasn't been too kind to Bullhorn Betty. I can tell you that. Apparently she's attracted to my female parts. Who knew?
They are lauded, celebrated, admired. It is not a place of criticism. So let's begin with this zinger.
It's so simple that it's probably a very boring case if you took away all the crap. It's just a simple, we have a 15-year-old autistic child that is missing. And unfortunately, the best part about it is he has managed to do this without any evidence left behind whatsoever. That is the most unique aspect of this case.
Did you hear Chris say that the best thing about Sebastian's disappearance is that he left no evidence behind? Shouldn't Chris be saying the worst thing about Sebastian's disappearance is that he left no evidence behind? Doesn't Chris want Sebastian's fate to be known? Doesn't he want Sebastian to be found and for everyone to get answers? I don't think the use of the word best there is a mistake. I think it's very revealing. I think it's a Freudian slip.
Yep, Gen X.
I also think it may be what's called duper's delight. Just in case you don't know what that is, duper's delight is the temporary thrill that some people experience when they cheat or deceive someone. It's also known as cheater's high. I'm wondering if Chris was engaging in a little duper's delight there. Let me play it for you one more time.
It's so simple that it's probably a very boring case if you took away all the crap. It's just a simple, we have a 15-year-old autistic child that is missing. And unfortunately, the best part about it is he has managed to do this without any evidence left behind whatsoever. That is the most unique aspect of this case.
Now I'm going to talk about other statements that...
So that is the one statement that I'm focused on for this purposes. Like that statement, in all fairness, it creeps me out. Okay? It creeps me out. It just felt... It felt creepers jeepers to me. So that's where we are kind of at right now. I have more questions than answers after hearing that, because that freaked me out, because it was almost like it felt so braggy to me, like he was bragging, even though that wasn't what was coming out. No, it was Chris saying that, they'll fill you in the chat. We'll play it again before we close out. I've got it saved right here. But one of the things is I wanted to provide an update on this case from Nick Barris, because Nick Barris has kind of been the one that has been been keeping up to date with Eric Craddock, the deputy chief. So exactly how it sounded. Hey Peachy, it's nice to see you. Jeep Banana says exactly how it sounded, like he's beyond proud of himself. Yeah, I don't know. It's a creepy clip. I don't like it. It doesn't make me feel like this boy walked out of this house. I think Ellie is onto something and just keeping it close. I hope so, Peachy. I really do. I keep holding out hope, but you know what? That's the way we felt with Hopkins County, and then nothing. But in all fairness, we gave Hopkins County a lot more time. I mean, before we really had enough, I think we were right before the annual milestone. So we're only 3 months into this case, but it's already getting that, that antsiness. I mean, that antsiness is right here. I don't know what it is about this case, but, people are they're just gnawing at the bit on this one. I don't know why. I mean, this one is just really it's an emotional one, because I think a lot of people, I didn't realize how many people that we have, that watch us have disabled children, or children with autism, or on the spectrum, or, a variety of other things. So I really think they see their children in this case, and I think it angers them, because they know how much they go through and how much they love their child, and how they'll never have anything happen to their child. And to hear the stuff that they're hearing, and knowing everything that they know as far as what's good for their child, what's really bad for their child. I think they know that Sebastian wasn't treated right, and they know that the mom would have known that this child wasn't treating right, and they're absolutely angry. Somebody like me that doesn't have children on the spectrum, and is getting more and more educated about autism and other things. It's from the parents out there that are telling me their stories, but they know, like me looking in, I don't know whether, I didn't know that, hitting a autistic child with a belt is like, it does something to them. Like, it scars them differently than teaching them. Like, spanking a person is rearing them, teaching them a lesson so they don't make a mistake again. It's supposed to be a form of punishment, but it's not supposed to be a traumatic punishment, right? It's supposed to be something that corrects a behavior if done correctly. It's called rearing, not abuse, right? And I think it's called rearing for a reason. Like, it should be on the rear, right? So it's like, but people know that. Me normally, I'm fine with people getting popped on the butt. Some people aren't, but it's a level of trauma that it does to a child on the spectrum. So that is no longer being disciplined. You see what I'm saying? When you receive trauma from the action, it's not discipline, it's abuse. And I think that's where it for me. But again, I agree. I was spanked and turned out fine. I didn't get beating. Exactly. I think proper rearing is what the world needs, So, but definitely not. Okay, so we're on here. So let me just read this for you guys because I thought this was important. Nick Barris has really been trying to keep everybody focused on just the facts and everything like that. And, he tries to dispel as much as possible. But, this case is getting crazy. And it's getting crazy and being driven by some knuckleheads on social media getting too overly, like, it's one thing to talk about these cases, but we got to make sure that we know our role. We can't get overly involved in them as much as we are passionate about them. So 3 months and still nothing as rumors continue to run rampant. I appreciate the fact that so many of you continue to show interest in the Sebastian Rogers case and you message me with questions. The 15-year-old autistic boy has been missing for nearly 3 months from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home. Vanished and not a trace found despite massive search efforts. Authorities say there's no evidence of foul play, though they have not ruled it out. In the absence of any new developments, armchair detectives on social media and podcasts continue to create their own fiction. Alleged sightings, new security videos, items of Sebastian's clothes found, new evidence the teen was on social media. All false. I checked again today and the investigation says there's nothing new to report. I've been in direct contact with the lead investigator with the Sumner County Sheriff's Office who says this latest stuff is all garbage. Everyone is frustrated to the point of some calling for the FBI to take over the investigation. Those calling for that do not know how the system works. First of all, the Sumner County Sheriff and TBI have both already involved the FBI. Second, the FBI does not typically take over state cases because state and local law enforcement agencies are not subordinate to federal law agencies. However, the FBI will become involved in a local investigation if the offense falls under federal jurisdiction, and we talked about what would make this fall under federal jurisdiction, or the crime is committed on federal property. Neither is the case here. Local law enforcement or the DA can also request the FBI to take over, but that has not happened. General Whitley tells me it will not happen. I've seen firsthand the work on this case by local authorities, and they are covering all bases. Some complain local investigators don't immediately respond to calls of possible evidence found by the public. They've received hundreds of tips, and many are easily dismissed simply because there's no credible connection, just more social media-driven rumors. And it's not as though the FBI taking over will suddenly produce a bunch of new leads. Hopefully there will be credible break in the case soon. Until then, please be very skeptical of stunning new developments unless they come from credible official sources. So there is the information I wanted you guys to have from Nick Barris. I do like Nick Barris. I do feel like he is being fair with this and he's being objective. I'm not, I've got my opinions, and this is, I'm not the kind of journalist he is. And so I'm more opinion based. And I really think that Katie and Chris have a lot of explaining to do in this case. And I don't think law enforcement nor anybody else, side-eyeing me, raising an eyebrow to me, or anything else is going to make me change. At the end of the day, something stinks to high heaven. This child didn't just vanish into thin air. And there's no proof this child came out of the home. And at the end of the day, I'm going to keep driving that home myself, because I think people need to understand the true facts of this case as they are. And the facts are, his mother says he walks out the door with not a scintilla of evidence to support that finding. None. And the one thing that we all do know is he went to bed in his bed that night, according to his mother. He was definitely seen that evening before he disappeared. So we know he was healthy and well, at least at the Texas Roadhouse, without a doubt in our mind. And that was around 6:30 that night, the night before, Sunday, February 25th. There is reports that he was seen taking out the garbage, okay, after they arrived back home from the Texas Roadhouse restaurant. So with those facts, that leads me to believe that he truly did, in fact, arrive home, in addition to the fact that all of his shoes were accounted for, lead me to believe that everybody made it back home that was supposed to go home that night. So I believe he went in that house, and I believe he was in that house. And I believe the house was the last place he was seen alive. And the only person that was there, by factual information, the night that he disappeared was his mother, Katie Proudfoot. So what happened? Those are the players. He was on the phone for 3 hours with her that night. These are the facts of the case. Now, do those facts imply something for me? Yeah, they do. Do they imply the same thing for me as they may another person? No, they don't. It depends on how your brain works. My brain works that, hey, this child went in there. There's no evidence that this child went out. This child is not known for leaving. This child has needed his mom his entire life. He's on medication. He did not take his cell phone. He did not take his prized video game. And he didn't put on shoes that he's accustomed to putting on before he goes out of the house each and every time. Those are the facts of the case. Does that lead me to believe that Chris and Katie may know more information than they're saying? Yes. Is their behavior acting weird? That gives me pause. Yes. Does it lead me to believe that something detrimental happened to this child because of those factors? Yes. And that's for me, So there you have it. That's all I'm going to talk to you guys about. I wanted to give you guys the update from Nick Barris so we have factual information that everybody knows. I want law enforcement. If Nick Barris can put this stuff out, why can't law enforcement? It should be coming from law enforcement, and shame on them. And I hope the people in this community see this. It's not that I don't think that they're not doing their job, but they've got to have a public relations, and they're failing in that department. And let's face it, public relations is what keeps these people in their positions. I hate to burst their bubble, right? So we'll try to see what we're doing. Spoke to the mechanic earlier today. It sounds like they were working on the car all day today, and that I should be getting it back sometime tomorrow. So everybody say a prayer for me that the car got like super, gadget powers, and has a super turbo wings and stuff, and actually flies and does donuts in the sky, okay? That's what we're shooting for, okay? But if it just stays on the ground and rolls, we'll take that too. We'll take that too. All right, guys, take care. And be nice to each other, guys. Quit beating each other up. Stop it! Love you guys, and be safe.